brace yourself. I'm about to say the three little words you almost never hear on YouTube. I was wrong. What I was wrong about specifically was this: the Pixii A1571 26 megapixel true rangefinder digital camera. In my initial review of the Pixii last fall, I said that there were several things I liked about it. I liked the image quality a lot. I liked the concept of the camera, software-defined camera, where key features are developed through programming code rather than custom chips and mechanical parts. And I liked the company itself, a feisty, engineering-driven French high-tech outfit. But at that time, I felt like there were several significant issues with the camera, so significant that I figured they could be deal breakers for most people who were interested. In fact, the way I closed that review was to say that I wasn't even sure I was going to keep my own Pixii or if I should send it back before my 30-day trial period expired. Well, obviously I did keep the Pixii, and since I did that initial review, a couple of things have changed very significantly. For one thing, this is the advantage of a software-defined camera, Pixii SAS has been working very hard on putting out software updates that address a lot of the initial issues that I and other people had with the camera's performance. And second, simply, I did a lot more shooting with the camera. I work in marketing. A lot of the types of photography I do are routine pictures of the activities of artists in the art center where I work. Beginning at the start of the year, I started taking the Pixii to work with me every day. I'd shoot it with it almost every day, sometimes for several hours at a time. And I discovered that for that kind of close-in, unobtrusive documentary photography, it was absolutely superb. I got beautiful images out of it. Nobody was bothered by my using it around them. The quality of the results was great. It just was a really good fit for this kind of photography. Let's look back at my original list of things that I thought were likely to be complete deal breakers about the Pixii and see how they stand up now. First was that it couldn't keep up with action. That's basically been improved a lot through a series of software updates. Now, it doesn't mean that the Pixii would be your first choice for photographing a football game or a Formula One race or something like that. You can keep up just fine for the kinds of shooting that you'd normally do with this kind of camera. Another problem initially was that the battery life seemed ridiculously short. And again, that's basically no longer an issue. Do I wish the battery life were better? Yes, of course I do. But in terms of absolutely crippling the ability to use the camera, I don't think you're going to have problems with it. Now, I discovered that the most important thing to improve battery life is simply to keep Wi-Fi turned off when you don't actually need it. And the fact is that the vast majority of the time you don't need it. One thing that hasn't changed is that there is no way to use flash at all. No mechanical shutter, no flash sync. There was a time in my photography life when I was doing a lot of quote-unquote strobist shooting, and this really would have bothered me, but now I've kind of moved away from that. If I need to add a little light, I'd rather use a portable video light. They're less intrusive, the flashes don't bother people. Obviously, if I need to do a big, full schmear flash shoot, I just have to use a different camera. The same is actually kind of true of the next point, the fact that not all M-mount lenses will fit the Pixii. That again is still an issue because of the mechanical design. But again, when I got to think about it, I thought, is that really a problem? I mean, yes, it's cool to look at the Camera Quest website at that new Voigtlander 50mm f1 lens. Am I going to go out and spend $1,800 for a lens that I probably would hardly ever use, even if it fit? No, in all honesty, not. So yes, it's true that not all M lenses will fit. Do I care? Not as much as I thought I would. The answer to the last point was kind of a pleasant surprise to me. Now, I've been using rangefinder cameras for a long time. They're what I learned photography on, they're what I prefer to use, and almost everybody who's been around rangefinder cameras very much knows that the rangefinder is so precise that it can drift a little bit out of calibration every now and then. As it turned out, after I used my Pixii for a while, I realized that the rangefinder did need just a slight touch-up, and I was really worried. Would I have to send it back to France, deal with customs, deal with shipping costs, possibly wait for a long time? But I emailed the company, and to my surprise, I got back a very pleasant email from an engineer named Melrick, who said, no, of course, we've designed the Pixii so that you can adjust it yourself. It's very simple, there's no way you can mess it up, and if you're concerned about it, I'll be happy to get on an online call with you and walk you through the process. He then sent me a page from a consumer service guide with illustrations showing exactly what I needed to do. It was a simple process. I had no trouble doing it. My camera was back in an adjustment in no time. I'd say I don't have any worries about routine minor maintenance. Of course, if any serious problems come up, you've still got a 2-year warranty. You can still send the camera back to France and they'll take care of it for you. So basically, other than these 2 points, which I've pretty much stopped caring about, all of these things that I thought were concerns are off the table. Now, another problem that I have fairly often is with one of the most touted features of the Pixii, the fact that it's a connected camera, that it has a very seamless link to the Pixii app on your smartphone. The only problem is that sometimes you do run into issues, and those are not so much anything to do with Pixii as to do with the fact that Wi-Fi is just a lot jankier technology than we all realize. One thing that still may be a deal breaker for some people is the fact that there's no mechanical shutter. Now, some people worry about the electronic shutter causing motion distortion, although I haven't seen that in human speed motion. Formula One cars? I don't know. Are you going to shoot that with a Pixii? I'm not. What I have seen, though, is banding when shooting at high shutter speeds under LED stage lights. These lights use multicolor LEDs and flicker them at a very high speed, and they can interact with the electronic shutter to produce this banding effect. Obviously, it is possible to get great stage photos with the Pixii, but you have to be aware of this problem and watch out for it. If you're not willing to do that, you're better off with a mechanical shutter camera. Incidentally, you won't see this effect on the bicolor flicker-free LEDs that are made specifically for still photography. So what's the takeaway? Well, in all honesty, the combination of software improvements and more experience using the camera has completely transformed my opinion of the Pixii. It's now my favorite camera to use, the one that I reach for first. Is it for everybody? Well, of course not. Certainly not as your only camera. If you need flash sync, high framing rates, mechanical shutter, long lenses, weather sealing, those are not part of this design concept. And if you're the sort of person who is deeply concerned about how they designed cameras back in 1954, and you know who you guys are, you will not like this software-defined approach to a camera. On the other hand, if you're comfortable with technology devices, and if you like the idea of getting your photography work process back to something that's simple, clean, straightforward, just a few lenses, a few controls, not a lot of accessories, the Pixii might really appeal to you. Personally, I think it's a pussycat.